Two things always happen. They affirmed the being, they affirmed the child that they are good, that they are loved, that they are known, that they are important. And simultaneously, they said, your behaviors need to have outcomes. You need a visceral experience for the choices that you're making. And two of their children in particular have been making choices that have been very, very selfish.
Police say this is the house a young child escaped from and went to a neighbor's house asking for food and water. They said that that child was severely malnourished along with another one they found inside the same home.
Because of the culture that already exists within the Mormon church, there was being duct taped and starved.
In March of 2010, Jesse made it to the police station in American Fork and filed a report against Aunt Jodi. Jesse's statements in that report echoing the story they told us: duct tape over her mouth, sleeping outside, not allowing her to talk.
Hi, everyone. So while we're all anxiously awaiting the sentencing for Jodi Hildebrandt and rubyfranke on February 20th, I thought now would be a good time to get this channel off the ground and do a deep dive into their Connexions Instagram and Connexions in general. I spent an entire day going through their Instagram, and I'm here to tell you it is a plethora of hypocrisy, and the comments alone are worth going through their Instagram. But I'm going to do that today. So I hope you guys will come along with me and we'll deep dive into all of this. I also wanted to again introduce myself. My name is Lisa, and I'm just launching this channel, Inspector Gen Xer. And I thought now would be a good time to kind of throw my hat in the ring. I feel like there's a lot of true crime channels and channels that cover crime. But I really do think if we are able, the more of us that jump on public platforms and advocate for the accountability of these people that harm kids, the better. Then it puts public pressure on the authorities. We need stricter punishments, I believe, for the people that harm kids. This case is a good example. They're only being charged with second-degree felonies. In my opinion, this could possibly be attempted. So, again, I think the more of us that can jump in there and advocate for the kids, I think puts public pressure on the authorities, and we can get these awful people held accountable. With that said, welcome in. If you guys do end up enjoying this video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe so we can get this channel off the ground. Now, let's dive in. I wanted to show you this really interesting article I found that has some background information on Jodi and Connexions, etc. It also has some reviews from some of her prior clients. So let's go ahead and jump over there. I am going to share my screen with you and we'll go over this article first. So here it talks about Jodi Hildebrandt is an author, life coach, and founder and creator of the Connexions classroom based in Orem, Utah. The curriculum is strongly based on her 5 years of experience working at Cirque Lodge, a drug rehabilitation center that focuses on treating addiction. After leaving Cirque Lodge, Jodi designed and created the Connexions 101 course, which is a basis for teachings throughout the various counseling programs that are offered through her Connexions classroom. We will get to the reviews, but let's go over the core teachings of Connexions. The core teachings of Connexions is that for a person to achieve true connection with another human being, they must not be in distortion. We all love that word. That word gives me a headache, but that is her favorite word. Distortion is a term defined by Jodi, a broad term indeed. By taking her course, people learn that they are in distortion by the following: being addicted, spouse, work, shopping, electronic games, social media, sleep, receiving compliments, exercise, eating drug, alcohol, sex, pornography, hobbies, entertainment, the things you can become addicted to are endless. Living in shame and denial, knowing you are not enough, being codependent in your relationships, living in lust, controlling and manipulating others. Controlling and manipulating others, isn't that quite hypocritical? Jodi asserts everyone in distortion. Excuse me. Jodi asserts everyone is in distortion and all experience the above, but she can help you to overcome distortion and live in truth. Jodi teaches that three core principles must be developed in order to truly connect with anyone and avoid distortion. If you or others do not practice these principles, they are considered in distortion. Boundaries need to be set to distance yourself from these individuals so you are not drawn into distortion with them. These core principles of connection are being impeccably impeccable honesty, rigorous personal responsibility, humility. So basically they're just explaining, I don't know if I want to read you guys this whole article, but let's jump down here just a bit. Although people are sold on the promise of enduring deeper connection in their relationships, unfortunately, what they are often actually experiencing is deeper loneliness and isolation from those they love. The person actively trying to implement Jodi's teachings often has diminished emotional intelligence and confusion over loved ones' responses. Jodi implies her teachings are absolute and are the only way to true happiness in relationships. Sounding a bit culty to me. Instead of learning skills to solve problems through positive and healthy communication with others, they are instead required to reach out to the untrained and unlicensed individuals in their class on several weekly phone calls. Ruby would be an example of one of these untrained individuals. Although weekly phone calls are required for the assignments, they often can develop into daily phone calls with multiple people. These individuals develop a bond by sharing vulnerable experiences with each other and validating each other's experience. As they continue these patterns, they distance themselves from their families and build stronger relationships with their connections family. Distancing someone from their family and friends is very common with um, a harmful person. There's certain words that I can't really say on YouTube, but these are definitely tactics of manipulation. Family and friends are confused about this new term distortion, and a whole slew of other terminology declared to them to be the only and absolute way to connect. To me, what we'll see when we go over to the Instagram is what I call word salads. It literally leaves you more confused, and I definitely think confusion is another way to control and manipulate vulnerable people. Let's go down here a little farther. They then confirm and reinforce Jodi's teachings of one kind of relationship which allows only her teachings and none else. Again, very culty. In addition to the Connections 101 classroom, students are encouraged to attend group, which is a weekly meeting with Jodi and other students to discuss in a more intimate setting how they were in distortion the following week. They are encouraged to call people in their group when they find themselves in distortion. The revenue from these group connections classes is conservatively estimated to exceed $30,000 a month. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the pictures posted of Jodi's compound on YouTube and various other social media platforms, but that house is something else. And this to me looks a lot like your typical scam to prey on vulnerable people with a really sadistic undertone to cash in and make a ton of money. And what really bothers me about this as well is, from what I understand, allegedly, the Mormon church was referring people to Jodi. Jodi often remarks that and relishes the fact that people either love me or hate me for what I am teaching. Students she has convinced that her way to connecting relationships is the one and only true way. Love her. The people that her teachings are being applied to usually hate her. So basically, what that's saying is, and typically she separates men and women. And from everything I've read and am starting to understand, I think Jodi was definitely a man hater and would separate the women and convince them to punish their men, isolate their men, etc. Now, by saying that, I definitely want to make it clear that as far as Kevin is concerned in all of this, he was part of the teaching group in Connections, and I don't necessarily see him as a victim. I don't think he'll ever get any be held accountable for his role in what happened to his children, because I don't know that there's definitely, hard evidence against him, but I don't think he is should be able to walk away. Just it's very frustrating. But anyways, there all are a lot of men that are truly victims in Jodi Hildebrandt's teachings. They are told they are emotionally and verbally abusive and addict of all kinds of things, codependent in the relationship, in distortion, not humble, not impeccably honest, and not rigorously responsibly. That doesn't make sense. Their spouse, friend, or associate has changed over the course of a few weeks, and they are now the main problem in the relationship. Unless they change and learn these new skills from Jodi, they will be cut off in the relationship. New physical and emotional boundaries will be put in place anytime they or their support group deem that you are in distortion. So, again, I do feel like Jodi is somewhat of a man hater. I also have some other feelings about her and Ruby's relationship, but I don't know that there's any proof of that. So, I guess I won't really go too deep in my feelings about that. And again, I don't think Kevin's a victim. So that kind of gives you a background on Connections and what it's about. Now let's go over here to the reviews. Reviews gathered from the internet about the content of and results of Jodi Hildebrandt's counseling and Connections classroom. If you would like to make a formal business a complaint against Jodi and Connections, you can do so by contacting the Utah Attorney General. If Jodi has provided counseling or therapy and you feel your rights have been violated, you can also file a complaint with the Utah Division of Occupational and Professional Licensing. So, let's just go here. I would like to leave a review for others as a warning to avoid Jodi Hildebrandt and her teaching and philosophy at all costs. It cost me a marriage, and she used shaming me and others in the group I attend as control. My former wife and I had our issues, but it wasn't until we had individual sessions that these distortions she said were there turned into distortions that cost a marriage and divided a family. Then it goes into some billing issues. Let's see. There is not one good thing about her or her program. It should be investigated for fraud and misconduct, for multiple HIPAA violations. She would share by name other clients' information. She does more harm than good. Someone referred to her as a wolf in sheep's clothing. I would refer to her as Satan's in saints clothing. So that is a review there. These reviews are pretty long, so I might just pick out little snippets from them. This one mentions Ruby. The biggest problem I see is that Jodi and Ruby do not use principles they purport to teach. Instead of golden rule type language and patient, understanding interactions, they often harshly, forcefully shame and batter people down in a brash and cruel manner when they ask questions or have concerns. So let's see, Ruby and Jodi quickly make judgments about a situation without knowing or seeking to know enough of the details, and have been known to reflect truth by saying, I feel sorry for you. It's obvious that you are lost. Your anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies are a result of not taking responsibility for your feelings. Your children have no right to privacy. I recommend you kick your daughter out, regardless of her serious heart condition, etc. One thing I have to say real quick about Ruby and Jodi, you've got Ruby's story with YouTube and the questionable parenting that she portrayed for the whole world to see, where I think Kevin also just stood by and enabled Ruby. And I also think Ruby has sadistic tendencies with the way that she was parenting her children. Then you've got Jodi over here with her story, and I'm sure you've heard about her niece, Jessie, who had reported Jodi and was completely ignored. And you've got Jodi over here with her sadistic tendencies. And then you put these two women together and you have an absolute dangerous combination that has led to what we now know was going on with those two precious kids in Jodi's home. Here is a female requested anonymity. This review is from 3 months ago. Jodi got my kids to believe all the lies their mother told them. She wasn't given permission to speak to their mother. Told the children as a professional to block your father from being able to call, text, or any other communication via cell phone. I wouldn't trust this company. They use brainwashing tactics to manipulate you. They intentionally make you feel bad about yourself and use slander. Please stay away from this company at all costs. They are a scam. I have a different history with Jodi than most. I'm a pretty well-known therapist that was trained under Jodi for a year. As I was trained under her, I saw her tear apart families and destroy relationships. I believe she is evil. I don't say that lightly. I have done so much therapy for people coming out of her cult who are traumatized by her therapy. I don't have an axe to grind, but I'm tired of watching people get hurt by her work. I'm reluctant to speak out against colleagues and other therapists. However, I wouldn't mind somehow, some way helping people see that she is dangerous. And that's another thing I've been wondering as we go into the Instagram page. I'm curious to what the other people that were involved in Connections, the other teachers or the other people that were getting help through Connections, I wonder what they're all thinking now. And I really hope they are taking a step back and realizing what they were involved in and kind of undoing the brainwashing that Jodi had going on. I really hope they get the help they need and realize what they were involved in. Let's see, what else do we have here? The expectations and principles they set on young kids whom are still learning and making mistakes is horrible. You're not perfect, so don't expect your children or other kids to be. Highly don't recommend following these two. It'll just make your kids' life depressing. Just look on YouTube about the honest, bad reviews about the so called advice. Here's one. They are attempting to brainwash their clients. Jodi masquerades as a therapist and educator, but on every platform she can control, silences anyone who says anything against her by blocking or removing comments. The hypocrisy is real and shameless. So, as you can see, there are quite a few reviews. Here's one to Jodi and Ruby. People are reviewing you based on your unqualified, harsh, distorted parenting advice that you're putting on social media. This Ruby has made a living off of putting her children on social media for the world to see. Now that they are older, she needs to regroup and rebrand herself under the name Connexions because so many people have spoken out against her parenting tactics. Please be aware of this, Connexions. These women are not clinically qualified to counsel. They talk in circles using their favorite saying, "You are living in distortion." So there you go. There's a bunch of reviews. And let's see, what does it say about LDS? Is Jodi Hildebrandt LDS? Short answer is yes. Let's see. Although her teachings are not in line with the LDS church, but yet it's been reported that the LDS church was recommend or sending people to her. So I don't know. License on probation. So this is talking about the past. Jodi Nan Hildebrandt had her license put on probation by the Utah Clinical Mental Health Counselor Licensing Board for 18 months effective January 25th, 2012. So a porn addiction therapist has been reprimanded by the state for discussing a patient without his permission with his LDS church leaders and Brigham Young University. All of the claims made by Jodi Hildebrandt were false, the man asserts, but they led to his loss of privileges in the church and his ejection from BYU. She lied whenever she went to further an agenda to destroy my life, said the man, who objected to bills that were as high as $2,000 a month. We came there for marriage counseling, and she pulled us into her P marathon. Hildebrandt, a professional counselor, is on probation for 18 months and must meet 22 conditions, or she could lose her license. And of course, she went right after this, she started Connexions. From the research I did, Connexions was started in 2012, but nothing really, I didn't see anything on Instagram or much going on with it until Ruby got involved. And that's another thing, too. Apparently, there was another couple who of Mormon influencers who had a YouTube channel that were involved in Connexions as well. So I really feel like Jodi was grabbing some people like that, like Ruby and these other influencers to push her out there and help her get seen by the public and get more clients to basically make more money. Let's see. So this is a really interesting article that just kind of goes over Jodi and the connections and all of that. So I have a slight issue with this. I get it that these were vulnerable couples possibly and these men along with the women were being brainwashed, etc. But to separate from your children, this is my problem with Kevin, he still had parental rights to those kids. and to separate from your children and not check on them and just allow that to be done to you, to have your relationship basically severed with your children and not fight back in any way. I just have a problem with that. And also with Kevin, as you will see in the Instagram, he was leading in Connections. He was giving talks and speeches, and he was right there with Ruby, spreading Jodi's manipulations. So I just feel like he should have some accountability as well. But anyways, let's get back to this. So basically they're just talking about her license. It has, as far as I know, her license has not been revoked yet. She is in jail right now, so it's not like she needs to use it or could use it, but I definitely think that's something they will do. I'm sure they're gonna revoke her license. So anyway, so now let's go ahead and jump over to Instagram and take a look at the Connections Instagram. Okay, so now I've got the Connections Instagram up. Let's jump into this and see what they've got going on. Now, these first posts have the most comments. As you go down, they get, well, here's one with 128. But basically, they have some different posts. Jodi has some quotes and there are video clips. So let's just go ahead and start here. We're not going to go through the entire page. Obviously, we'd be here all day, but I'm going to bounce around a little bit. We'll just get an idea of what they've got going on this Instagram page. So this says here, let's click on it. Rid your relationships of transactions, manipulation, and deceptive motives. Rid yourself of control. If that's not projecting, I don't know what is. I mean, just right off the bat, the hypocrisy here. So let's check out some of the comments. My neighbor suggested Jodi as a counselor years ago when I was navigating the teenage years with my oldest daughters. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. Her receptionist called to make another appointment, and I told her there was no way in hell I was going back. So glad I listened to my instincts. Here is Scott Warner. It was only a matter of time before you'd be exposed, Jodi Hildebrandt. I knew from the moment I met you, something was incredibly off with you, something dark and haunting. You played a significant role in ruining the relationships of some of my loved ones with your distortion counseling. You brought a tremendous amount of pain to these families, including mine. I hope this situation teaches you the lessons you've been needing and allows you time to get counseling yourself to find peace moving forward. No more pain for your clients. Well, Jodi and her extreme views on boundaries and shame have been toxic in my family and extended family. She has been key to destroying lifelong sacred relationships and given voice to the most ugly and toxic ways of thinking and acting. It is validating to see her finally being exposed. I am heartbroken for those children and hope justice is served. Agreed. Here's a fun left Connections and now is in Corrections. Love it. Love it. Worst mom award goes to you and Ruby. By far, the most dangerous thing a family can be subjected to is religious fanaticism. So many children who have been destroyed because of all of these imaginary religions. Imagine tying your children up with rope and duct tape and depriving them of food and water. You are truly sick. I hope you pay for what you did to those children and to your family. Quite interesting comments. You were so worried about your kids being possessed. Y'all were the ones possessed. Have to say I agree there. Some of them are a bit gnarly. So there's just the first post. The first post is full of hypocrisy and many, many comments. So let's see. Here's a good one too. Trust. Trust is not given, it is earned. Trust is granted after consistency is evidenced. Trust is granted after consistency is evidenced. My respect goes to the state of Utah for finally stepping up and taking action against Ruby and Jodi. I am hoping and praying that those two get sentenced appropriately. I am so worried that if either one of them gets out anytime soon, they're going to they're going to keep at it somehow some way. Here's a good one. You wrote this while abusing children, children that you wanted to trust you, right? Agreed. How sad is that? My kids came out trusting in me, knowing I was their safe place from birth to forever. Imagine telling your child they have to earn that. Wow. Good point. Just out of curiosity, since trust and apparently food must be earned, does this apply only to children, or do you also advocate for the starving and duct taping of spouses too? Oh my gosh. Oh, these comments. Rot in jail. She must have earned a lot of food. Wait, starve the kids by eating their portion. Oh my goodness. And to think you deceived these children while abusing them. There's not enough forgiveness or help in this world for you. No one will ever trust you. I bet your family is really proud. Then we start getting into some of the comments that talk about, and you'll see this a lot going through this account. When you're going through this account, you think your head starts hurting because you think this none of this makes sense. Like I was saying earlier, it's like a word salad, it just doesn't make sense, very confusing. And once I got to the comment section, I was so glad to know I wasn't alone in thinking that a lot of this made no sense. So this person here in Calio with Louise says, none of these videos that have been posted make any sense. In fact, they're so contrived and they seem like a very brainwashed way of thinking. The only words that they bring up in their videos is distortion. If anything is distorted here, it's their way of thinking. May justice prevail and the children get the care and love they need. Absolutely agree with that. Imagine writing something about trust needing to be earned when your actions cause significant and permanent harm to a child. You sure didn't earn those children's trust, and now, thanks to you, they will struggle to trust anyone for the rest of their lives. GTH. And this is what, putting all this out there publicly, all of us collectively speaking out against these injustices to children puts pressure on authorities. And I'm really hoping when it comes to sentencing for these two women, all of this public pressure will play a role in their sentencing for sure. This just in, duct taping children's limbs is acting in truth and how to go about earning trust. Definitely. So there's a little glimpse at that post. This one here really upset me. Denial tactic, justification. I couldn't find any paper. My shoelaces were double knotted too tight. I couldn't untie them. So here's a word salad, okay? I give myself evidence in order to grant permission to do what I want. This evidence, quote unquote, removes my conscience from feeling the impact of my deception, which makes everything okay. I present logical and skewed facts to myself and others, which allows me to condone unacceptable, inappropriate behavior. I want a particular outcome. Therefore, I twist and distort my thoughts, feelings, words, and behaviors. We're talking about little kids here. This is so sick, you guys. Here's a good one. Can't wait for prosecutors to use this account against you. This is what I was just talking about. All of us collectively speaking out and putting pressure on authorities. I hope they do too, Mr. Sean Septicon. Abby Meyer writes, so what's the punishment for doing those things? Starving the kid, right? Proper response, especially if this is a first time offense. I can see why you might have thought that way. Let's solve the problem so this doesn't happen next time. Then teach them to untie their shoelaces. Give them paper to draw with. Solve problems instead of accusing your children of being deceitful liars who are doing things wrong on purpose. Thank you. Here's one. God, you're a real preach. So, how do you try to justify what you did? So glad he outsmarted both of you and got help. Yes, RF, Ruby's son, is definitely a hero. Absolutely. They're children, literal children. Olive Petals 7 says they're children, literal children. Absolutely. This is psychotic, insane parenting. They are kids. You are projecting. That photo is literally what you guys do to your families and children. Look inwards and hope you learn truth in prison. Good riddance. Agreed. This one kind of tore me up. The self justification that little boy had to climb out of a window and run to the neighbor was that you were denying him food and water and you were keeping him chained down with duct tape. Ugh, so awful. So, those are the first three posts. Let's kind of go down a little bit as we don't have time to go through every single post here. Let's see what this one's about. What are tactics of deception?
Around tactics of deception. In order for you to see truth, you're going to need to know the opposition. Anytime you go into battle, you need to know the enemy. And distortion is the enemy of truth. And so, where that largely believes truth is this subjective, ethereal idea, like what's true for me, and you can have what your truth and my truth, and it's all different.
Very
And
subjective, very based on how I feel.
yeah, it moves, it's fluid, it changes. There's very uh, a lack of base.
Go kick a rock and see how fluid that is.
I know. That's fluid. Well, it didn't hurt me. I don't know why it hurt you. I'm sitting here jabbing. There is truth. And
You know what kills me, you guys, when I see these videos of them sitting in Jodi's house? I can't help but think that those two babies are in there somewhere, chained up or whatever was going on. I mean, my heart just wants to come out of my chest just thinking about that. And I get so angry. It's almost really hard for me to watch, but knowing what they were doing. But we've got to keep making people aware, and we've got to make some changes in our society. I really think that child harm is quite systemic, and I'm glad that there's a lot being exposed over the last few years, and we need to keep exposing it and keep pushing for more accountability. So there's that, just a little clip, and there's a few comments. Boy, this video aged well. You are both going to age. Anyone notice how weirdly close these two women are sitting together? What are they even talking about? So, anyways, there's that little clip. Let's keep going. This one has 128 comments. I just want to take a peek.
So this life is governed by principles, physiological principles, emotional principles, spiritual principles. It's your charge to learn about principles and not run away from principles, shooting off your shoulder like bam, bam, as you go running off into destructiveness. When you're in distortion and you're in comparison, you're attempting to infuse or to believe or create this awareness that you have worth. Like, I have value. I mean something. I'm loved. I'm important. I'm smart. I'm necessary. I'm valuable. You're trying to maintain that and believe in that when you're in comparison in distortion. When
What was even that? When you're in comparison, you're in distortion. People pay 6 acres says people paid for this. This makes no sense at all. She's just rambling nonsense. So true. Lori Vallow, Lori Vallow. There are definitely some similarities, I think. We know you two are lovers. uh See, here's a comment from Elisa Gill 7 that is similar to what I was saying. Hard to watch knowing the kids were probably tied up during a lot of the filming of these. Absolutely heartbreaking. So, there's another little clip. Compliance. Giving the appearance of being willing to do what is expected of me without sincerely agreeing or committing within myself. This is a cycle I engage in, so I never face the reality of my situation or my responsibilities. Compliance is a devious denial tactic. I appear willing and fully engaged, but it's a lie. I don't agree, and I'm deliberately deceiving you. This is so dangerous. Little Miss Trouble 18 writes, Ruby has no right to be giving advice about raising kids when her oldest doesn't even talk to her. Southern Pansy 2023 writes, I saw through your deceit when your fellow witch deprived an innocent child of food. So there's a few of those comments. Here's this one. Blame, to hold someone responsible for something negative, unpleasant that happened. My blanket of blame comforts me in the lie that I didn't do anything. They did. To accuse, projection, to use against another, to avoid feeling pain, to manipulate, to convince another, blah, blah, blah. Connexions says, there is never a truthful way to blame. The action of blame is always a distorted choice. When I choose to blame, I am choosing to not be responsible for my own thoughts, feelings, and actions. First comment, Veronica Roses says these posts age like milk. So true. Metallica Moon, you chose blame and now you're in jail. Better not blame each other. You're both equally responsible for harming children. Oh, Laura Lee 333, yet blamed a preschooler for not waking herself up and not packing her lunch because she's responsible enough. Yeah, okay. Lola Gray, you're in jail. The comments, you guys. The comments are something else. How to create a truth declaration. There is nothing more powerful than creating a truth declaration. To speak boldly to yourself and stop the distortion right in its tracks is pure power in truth. Oh, good grief. Let's see. Control is when I make someone else responsible for my thoughts, feelings, and actions. Metallica Moon. Metallica Moon keeps showing up. Your choices led you to jail. Oh my goodness. Oh no, I am sorry I forgot to wash the dishes. Please don't send me to wilderness therapy. I don't want trauma for the rest of my life. Hope you're thinking this way while you're in jail. Can only blame yourself. The comments. Loving the comments. Let's go down to some more video clips. Let's see here. It's really hard for me to stomach. Oh, this makes me so sad. This photo. And look at what Connections
You just see
posting.
aggressive behavior.
Coaching. Connections coaching. What their caption is. Your child's aggressive or selfish behavior is just a symptom of the root issue. Oh gosh, people. Photo Sensible wrote sociopaths. Why still open on this profile? Stupidest thing I've ever heard. Gosh, I wonder why she lost custody of her kiddos. Let's take a painful glimpse.
You see a child saying, screw you, and I'll do what I want. That doesn't sound fearful, does it? However, that kind of overt attack is really a big, huge, I call it the blowfish. They blow themselves up so that they can pretend to themselves and to you that they're larger than life, that they've got everything handled, they've got everything figured out.
Meanwhile, the babies are in the basement. I can't.
They don't need any help. And the truth is, they're scared to death under the surface. So, our job as parents, your job as a parent, is to know that when you see acting out behavior in any way, shape, or form, connect the dot to this child is unaware of who they are and their value. And part of the reason they're unaware is because of their destructive choices. They keep using their agency to choose distortion, which is deception, rather than truth. And when
As if kids know. Oh, I can't with this. So there's a little glimpse into that. So heartbreaking and infuriating, definitely. Protecting your child from an abusive partner. Really, Jodi, really. Protecting your child from an abusive partner. Oh, the hypocrisy. We got to see this. Oh my gosh. Connections Coaching says, you are responsible to protect your child. I hope you will be a lioness. You're responsible to protect your child, Ruby, your children, from Jodi and yourself. Oh my goodness, karma is real. She is coming. So ironic. And now yours and Ruby's deception has come to light since the truth has come out. Yes, great comments. Let's see what she has to say about protecting yourself and your child.
to protect you, and now you're responsible to protect a baby. So I know that many of us, if not all of us, have been conditioned to believe that if someone is being abusive, then you need to get away from that person who's being abusive. But it's okay to keep in that environment. And I understand that many of the laws in the world
Meanwhile, you're harming kids. I just can't.
world support that. A man or a woman can be being abusive and they still will have their children given to them, which is horrible. And I understand why the law does that, because there's so much deception going on that the law, quote unquote, they don't know where the truth is. They don't know who's telling the truth. So this little boy that you have depends on you, Mom. And I'm hoping that you will be a lioness to protect him. You are responsible to protect you, and now you're responsible to protect a baby.
So creepy, you guys. This is so beyond creepy. It's not very often that we have a case like this where literally so much information, I guess, is accessible because they were so prevalent online. And this really gives us an idea of the craziness of these women. I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe it. Oh my lord. Fighting for your child?
Moms, dads, you need to be fighting 100.
The hypocrisy, you guys. Marilyn Yadira says, this is so sick. All these videos should be put down. They say another comment saying it sounds like Lori Value or Vallow. Sorry, Lori Vallow. The evil here is the two people in the video. They speak truth. Everything they say and do is a contradiction. They're in jail for their evil now. Go with them then. I can't believe someone would say they speak truth. I wanted to get down because as we go down farther, we start seeing Kevin. So I'm assuming that during this time that I'm showing you all these posts here, that Kevin was probably living away from the family at this time, because as we go farther down, he is in some of the video clips. What is character? You've got to be kidding me. Connexions says, character is a lifestyle of consistent choices made in truth. Character is the choice to base decisions upon principles instead of feelings. Character is the natural outcome. Blah. Oh my gosh, this is a long caption. Blah, blah, blah. Lily Moho says, personally, I think character is not harming and tying up your children in the name of God, but what do I know? Agreed. Trust cannot be commanded or controlled by others. It is a gift that someone gives freely to another person. Oh my, there's music. No thanks. No thanks on the music. Trust supports and deepens safety, intimacy, and connection. When genuine trust is present in a relationship, it speaks volumes of the character and integrity of both parties. Trust is also fragile and can be destroyed by one act of dishonesty or selfishness. She's literally talking about herself. Complete projection. Anyways, should you avoid pain? Oh, Lord, have mercy. None of us like to experience pain. Should you try to avoid it at all costs? When you understand the difference between optional and inevitable pain, you can begin to see pain as a gift. Oh, you guys. You can begin to see pain as a gift and an opportunity for growth. This is the kind of stuff she was putting in these kids' heads to make them think that they deserved it. Oh, this is sadistic. I really hope these two don't ever get out. Or if they do, they're really old. What is distortion? Who the heck knows? Distortion is when we twist the truth to add meaning to our experience. Oh my lord. Spend 2 days with Jodi and Ruby. Oh my goodness, sounds like fun.
In my head, but how do I like activate them and live them and participate in them? Well, this is a beautiful opportunity for you to come down to Southern Utah and let us model for you how to live in truth. It'll be 2 days of coaching. So 2 days coaching when you're hiking and 2 days coaching when you're on the boat with us. There's 3 activities, and you're welcome to all 3 if you'd like.
Wonder how much it costs for that experience. This woman just draining people of their money. Oh, here's Kevin confronting the school board. Oh, Jodi with a basketball. How fun. Here is a doozy. I remember coming across this one. Emotional safety in a relationship means both people are aware of their own perceptions and emotions, honest and responsible about their perceptions and emotions, not behaving in ways that are aggressive emotionally or physically. Really, Jodi? Let me read that again. Not behaving in ways that are aggressive emotionally or physically. The only comment that I can see is this is distortion, right? Absolutely. Oh, here's Kevin. Let's see what old Kevin has to say here.
Seeing this, I've become really skeptical of anything in life that promises quick results or results in anything without any pain or, get rich quick, lose weight fast, painless, easy, and just here pay the money, stuff like that. Anything that would try to sell that angle to me, I've become really, really skeptical of in life, because I've come to realize that if change truly is warranted, it's going to require work. There's going to be pain involved. It's going to require sacrifice. And that's consistent with what God tells us and teaches us in the scriptures, time and time and time again. Connections, I came to realize that the principles that are taught here in the community that supports one another and holds each other accountable. This isn't a money community. This isn't a sex addiction.
This isn't a money community, except for Jodi. Except for Jodi. I think she's making a pretty penny. The dad is 100% responsible. That's the first comment. What exactly are the things that you gave up? This one's interesting. So he's finally spending time with his kids instead of working out in the gym all the time. What else do we have here? I really worry about all these other people that are involved. I really, truly hope that they are waking up and realizing what they got themselves involved in.
I went into the marriage believing like, okay, the best thing that I do in my whole day is, 5 o'clock, make sure the house is cleaned up for dad to come home and make sure my makeup is on and I'm wearing something nice. So it's all this focus on, here's what I bring to the marriage.
Oh boy, we have a graphic here. Oh boy, aggression, lying, shopping, bragging, the P word, alcohol, eating, gaming, gambling, social media, sleeping, technology. Acting out, distraction, control, victim, fear. Steps to acting out. Oh boy.
I bring my body and I make sure the house is clean. So that didn't, it wasn't going to hold water for too long in our marriage. And that's why we started to have leaks in this marriage, because it wasn't based in truth. I went into the marriage believing
That was an interesting clip. Not really sure where they were going with that. Oh, look, isn't that cute? Get the training you need for understanding yourself, flourishing in your relationship with my masterclass. Oh boy. I'm really glad to see they were out exploring the mountains and going on the boat and doing all these wonderful things. Meanwhile, the kids, where were the kids? So disgusting and infuriating. Who is Jodi Hildebrandt? Oh, brother.
Connection requires someone to live principles of being honest, responsible, and humble.
Author, educator, and
So
mother.
vulnerability means I'm willing to accept
Produced hundreds of resources to transform your life and relationships.
the state of existence in this world.
Oh, all these people, you guys. And look at Ruby with her smug face and her Connections t-shirt. Ugh.
Honesty and responsibility and humility are at the foundation of living a life that's connected.
Happy, happy, happy until Jodi comes in and ruins all these relationships. I wonder if this is the video that I saw on Hidden True Crime where she... First of all, let's see what Kevin has
I
to
just
say.
want to add into this. The world has these definitions of what love and tenderness look like. I watch all these Christmas shows that I used to just love because I feel all warm and fuzzy. And this year I watch them and I'm like, oh, gross. Because warm and fuzzy in the show is always about at the end, the kid just got whatever they wanted. And the world has this message, and society has bought into it hook, line, and sinker, that love looks like commercialism. Love looks like your kid gets that big thing. Love looks like the magical Christmas, and the magic more, buy more, big boxes, big red bows. That's love. If you love your children, that's what you're going to do. The focus has been removed entirely from what love.
So I think he's in context here. I think he's trying to explain away why they didn't give the youngest two Christmas presents that one year. And they're just spinning the reason why they singled out those two. You know, there's always scapegoats in families that are harmful. And I really feel like those two were especially scapegoated, those two babies. Let's look at some of the comments. The Christmas where you stay away from your children. Nice responsibility teaching, Kevin. This is an example of Kevin being on the same page as Ruby with her bizarre extreme punishments. I hope this gets considered and the children get placed where they will be cared for. Kevin, you come across very angry and resentful. So there's a lot of interesting comments. I think there's a lot of people that feels like he at the least enabled a lot of this harm, shall we say. More Kevin. More Kevin. Oh, look at all the fun they're having. And I believe this lady here is the lady that had Ruby's two other daughters, Pam Botcher. Yep. Ruby, Pam, and I spent 4 days together at Lake Havasu last month. It was a time where we could be vulnerable with each other. Where were the kids? Obviously, oh man, I just can't. And I'm not saying that Pam, obviously, I am not saying she's done anything wrong. I hope she's realizing what she was involved in, though, and getting her head on straight after being involved in Connections. More Ruby. Oh, look at this. Isn't this just special? Our Lake Havasu trip. Ruby offered me my first piece of chocolate licorice. Oh, good for you. You're getting candy. You're going on fun trips together. Oh my gosh. The way they look at each other, I don't know, you guys. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. I wonder if they were more than friends. What is this? Kevin. Here, Kevin has a Connections t-shirt on.
Can you want a more intimate sexual relationship?
Yeah, we don't want to listen to that, right? Didn't think so. What's this one?
Those of you who are watching, each of you is in a different situation. And
got the
there's
Connections
some of you who
t-shirt
right
on.
now are thinking,
Kevin.
there is not a more unhealthy marriage than my marriage right now in the world. And I'm here, from what I've learned from the experience of Laura and Curtis, I don't think there was a more unhealthy marriage on the planet than yours. And the fact that you are where you are now should give hope.
Oh, they're talking about Kevin witnessed a special couple change and transform their marriage into something beautiful. Okay. Sure. Sure you did, old Kev boy. Okay, so you guys can kind of get the gist of what's going on this Instagram page. A ton of hypocrisy and vile word salads, manipulation, and it's really sad. I'm really hoping all these other people get some help. Here you can see Kevin and Ruby with their Connections t-shirts on. And having a bunch of fun.
Our vision is to move this into the world and throughout the world to every single soul who is interested in learning about truth.
Thank God they were stopped. Thank goodness they were stopped.
The thing about self-care is it's our responsibility.
Connections has helped me really just start to see the truth. And I know that seems so simple to say, but I'm brand new, and it can be a little bit scary to see.
I hope these people are getting real help. I really do. And that's how a lot of these manipulators work. Whoops, is they go after vulnerable people. So next, basically this is the Instagram. We'll scroll down a little bit farther. Oh, Ruby and Kevin. Jodi having fun outside. And again, I want to know, where are the kids? Part of me feels like we've just scratched the surface. I really hope with all of this more people come forward, people that have been victimized by Jodi and Ruby, Connections, all of this. I really, really hope more people come forward. Here's Kevin again. I think this goes all the way back to 2021. There was one video on here that I wanted to play, if I can find it. But I may have possibly scrolled by it. Ruby and Kevin again. Panel members, Kevin and Ruby Franke. Isn't that lovely? Okay, we're getting to the end here. So it started out with posts like this. Excuse me, guys. I'm going to do one more scroll through and see if I can find that video. If not, we're going to pop over to the Connexions website because I wanted to show you some of the books that they make you buy. So she has other ways of draining people of money. I don't know. Look at Kevin up on stage. Don't know if I'm going to be able to find that video. I remember it was around a Christmas time. Here's her Connexions studio that she had built. Isn't that lovely? Well, if I do find that video, I can throw it up in a separate video for you guys. I don't want to keep wasting your time scrolling through this horrible Instagram account. So let's go ahead and pop over to the Connexions website real quick. Hang tight. Let me get over there for you. Here we go. So this is the Connexions website. Create joy in your life and relationships. And all this stuff is still up. It's so crazy to me. Join Empowering Joy. Here we go. Here's some prices. So for $21 a month, you get live training with Jodi on Saturdays for an hour, printable learning slides each week, live training on unique topics, 24/7 access to 50 plus videos, access to self-care and self-love on demand. And then $200 a month, you get a lot of the same, but you get a one-on-one session with Jodi each month, 50 minutes on Zoom. Wow. Heal your soul. Oh my. Men and women's teams. What is that? Get mentally fit and relationally connected. Welcome to men's and women's teams. $175 for an initial consultation. 1.5 hour Zoom meeting a week. $75 a week equals $300 for 4 weeks. And you get to meet your instructor. Oh my. Just draining vulnerable people of their money. Isn't that just wonderful? Shop. There we go. This is where the workbooks are, guys. I found it. So we have all these workbooks. We've got the addiction cycle, shame versus guilt. It's $11 to $26. So you get the DVD and the workbook for $26. So as you're paying for all these classes to be brainwashed, you can also pay for the books. Kind of reminds me of Scientology, where they drain all of them of their money as well, and they're paying for their brainwashing. Anger, Fear, and Triggers, Boundaries, Business Culture Workbook. Control versus Surrender. Oh, I can only imagine what's in there. Codependency and Caretaking, Distraction and Fantasy. That book is $37. Drama, a whole book and DVD on drama. Empathy, Vulnerability, Validation, and Risk. Connections Classroom, Connecting Families. Faulty Core Beliefs and Denial, Forgiveness and Humility, Perceptions, Motives, Agendas. Oh boy. Love versus Lust, Self-Care. Oh, and then Jodi's book. She's got a teens workbook, Arming the Next Generation with Weapons of Truth. Wow. A parenting book. Oh, Lord help. Lord help us. A parenting book. $42 for that one. Let's see. Connections Masterclass is $42. The Connections Classroom Glossary of Concepts and Ideas is $11. I wonder if they let you like look in the book or give you excerpts. Language is one of our most powerful tools. Connecting language is precise and powerful. In order to connect, you must know what you mean by the words you use. Really, Jodi, really. And the person you are communicating with must also know what you mean by the words that you use. This glossary contains definitions for the key vocabulary of connecting emotionally. If this is not a manipulation tool, I don't know what is. It will give you a foundation so that you and your loved ones may have a shared foundation of what you mean by the words you use with one another. So it must be like the connections language. Wow, $11 for that thing. Anyways, that gives you a glimpse of some of the books that she offers, DVDs, the classes. Let's see. See if I can find any more pricing. My classes. Let's see if it gives you pricing. Oh, shoot. She wants me to log in. I'm definitely not going to do that. I won't be setting up an account with Connections, unfortunately. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's deep dive into Connections and the first video on my new channel. If you did, please leave me a like and subscribe to help get this channel off the ground. And I look forward to the sentencing for Jodi and Ruby on February 20th. I hope they are sentenced accordingly, and be sure we will be talking about that here on this channel. I will be trying my best to put out videos weekly, if not more, for you guys. So again, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.